So,
Thanks,
like
Rob.
I said, everybody, I'm not going to go to the raise your hand. We've already done that. But, everybody has done the whole copy and paste your resume into Chat GPT or Gemini or Claude or DeepSeek um, if you're into being anyway, and ask to make it better. So we're going to talk about why that doesn't work and what does work. And so I'm going to frame the why and the what, and Kayla is going to pick up with the how, and show you how to do that with the Gemini Gem. And I'm not going to speak for Kale specifically, but I'm pretty sure we've talked enough and we seem to be of one mind. That's scary. But I believe that he picked Gemini because of all of the tools, Gemini is the one that for right now, for whatever reason, Google's given away most of the store. So things that you would normally have to pay for with Claude and with ChatGPT, Google is giving away for free with Gemini. So if you have not, if you've not leaned into ChatGPT or Claude because everything you want to do requires the paid, Gemini is giving a lot of that away for free. So don't sleep on Gemini. All right, so let's get into it. Here's the myth. The myth is you write a killer prompt, you give it your resume, and AI is going to spit out a perfect resume because AI is supposed to be the smartest kid in the room, right? And most people think that that's what's happening. And if it doesn't, they think they need a better prompt. And you might need a better prompt.
Probably
But
do.
what's really happening is there's a whole upstream process that has to exist before that prompt even matters. So your experience becomes stories, stories become context, and context feeds the prompt. Then AI can produce something useful. Tool is only as good as what you give it. If you give it nothing, it will give you nothing back. If you give it something generic, you're going to get something generic back. So your resume is the output. It is not the source. So these three things I want you guys to remember. Get this in your head. Resume is the output. It's not the source. Context isn't a bonus. Context is the entire game. And you build your stories first, and everything else comes from your stories. And I mean everything comes from your stories. So I want you guys to remember these three rules. Say those out loud. Make that part of your how you deal with AI. So we're going to go back to the myth. We've already talked about your prompt. You put it into AI, comes out perfect resume. Doesn't happen. You put in your resume, a generic prompt, and you're going to get a generic resume, a generic cover letter, and generic LinkedIn content. AI can't infer experiences you never told it about. And believe it or not, your resume doesn't tell the whole story. Your resume is the highlight reel. Your story bank, we're going to get into that. That's where the real magic happens. So, what you've got to do is excavation. So, I want you to think about your job search in two phases. Most people skip the first one entirely. So, we're going to talk about excavation. Before you can build anything, you have to dig your experiences, your wins, your failures, your leadership moments. None of that is organized right now. It's buried. And some of it you've forgotten. It's a bullet on your resume, but you've forgotten what's behind it. So
Yep.
some of it you don't even realize it counts. Excavation is the work of pulling it out and making sense out of it. So assembly is the part where you get everyone that wants to, that's the part where everyone wants to jump in. They want to get to that first. I want to get to the resume. They want to get to the LinkedIn profile, the cover letters. But if you skip that excavation part, you're assembling with nothing. You're building a house with no materials. AI is an incredibly useful assembly tool, but it can't excavate for you. That's the work that you've got to do.
Are you wanting
So
to change slides as you go? I'm not sure
I am
if
changing
you.
slides. You're not seeing them
I'm
change?
still, for my part, I'm seeing the title slide still.
You were
Why is
still
this?
seeing the title, it's not advancing.
This is interesting. Hold on. Because it says I'm sharing
Hmm?
and you guys aren't seeing the slides. Hold on.
Well, we're seeing the title slides. It's the title slide hasn't moved or
Yeah,
hasn't.
let
It's
me,
yeah.
yep, and I'm not sure why. So hold on.
Now we see Story Bank.
Yeah, but that's not it.
Okay.
I like that slide though. I like the.
Yeah, hold on. Stop sharing. I'm not sure why this isn't working. Give me just a second, guys. I
Sure,
don't know why.
sure.
I don't know why.
While she's doing that, we can probably float a question if it, oh, there we
You know
go. Okay.
what? I'm just gonna share the raw material with the.
Hey, we're all friends in the sausage factory here. So.
Yeah, y'all will just see my notes, so that's okay. All right, so I'm gonna say this again. Resume is the output.
We
Resume
don't
is
see,
not.
we don't see anything right now. I'm sorry.
Yeah, yeah, we do. Or I do.
I see a black screen.
Oh, okay. Maybe it's refreshing on your, is anybody, I see.
I
the
see
thing.
resume is the output.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. What's
So-
It's a
going
black
on?
screen, but there's words on it.
Yeah, whatever
Yeah.
you do, Crystal, don't you change anything on your end. We'll let our machines catch up.
Okay. All right. Well, all right, let me know when we're all ready and I'll.
I see it. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. Like I'm seeing it. All right. Hang on. Hang on. I just need to catch up. I need to catch up with my notes. Okay. Yeah, there we go. Okay. So I'm going to say this several times throughout this talk. The resume is the output. The resume is not your source material. So your stories, that context, and then you get to your resume. That's the order. Doesn't work any other way, despite what people tell you. So your stories got to come first. You organize those stories to get your context, and that context feeds the AI. And at the very end, you're going to get a resume, a real one, the one that actually sounds like you because it came from you. So when you paste your resume in and ask AI to approve it, you're actually asking it to improve the output without giving it access to the source. So it's like asking a chef to improve a dish without letting them into the kitchen. So let's talk about what I think is the key, your story bank. So your story bank is exactly what it sounds like, a collection of your career stories. And it's organized so you can actually find them. So when you walk through these folders, you've got leadership stories, project stories, conflict stories, and yes, conflict stories. Everybody didn't have a job and everything went rosy all the time. The things that went sideways and you navigated it, failure stories, because failures are your most instructive material. Volunteer stories, career pivot stories, success stories. This is all your career knowledge base. And here's the thing, most of you have these stories. They're in your head. They're in old performance reviews. They're in emails you forgot to send. They just haven't been captured and organized anywhere. And by the way, your resume is not that still. Your resume is the highlight reel of your career stories, your career knowledge base. So your story bank fixes that. And here's the good thing. You build it once, just like your resume. You build it once, you draw from it every time, for every application, for every interview, every LinkedIn post, every cover letter. You just update it and keep it updated, just like your resume. And by the way, if that's not your strategy with your resume, it needs to be. Your resume needs to be an active strategy. It isn't something you just dust off because today I've got to go look for a job. You start a new job, first thing you need to do is update your resume. You may not have a whole lot to put in there yet, but update your resume. You update your LinkedIn, but you don't update your resume. You tell everybody on LinkedIn, oh, I got a new job. And your resume is still sitting there collecting dust. You update all of it and you keep it updated. Every time you do something and you accomplish something, you update your story bank, you update your resume, and you update LinkedIn. Don't wait till you need these things to update them. Keep them. You don't.
It's exhausting, but it's true.
It's exhausting, but it's true. And here's the thing: what's that song that rap song says? If you stay ready, you ain't got to get ready. Stay ready. All right. So I am going to go to my next slide. So here's how it works. You've heard of STAR stories: situation, task, action, and result. And most people think of it as interview prep, something you do the day before a big interview. Okay, let's be honest. Some of us do it an hour before the interview, sometimes 5 minutes leading right into the interview. But I want you to, yes, I want you guys to reframe this completely. STAR story is not interview preparation. STAR story is your knowledge capture. So every time you write a STAR story, you're documenting something real that happened, something you did, something that changed because of you. That story is now available to you forever. And you can pull it for a bullet point for your resume, cover letter, an interview answer, a LinkedIn post. That story is your source. Everything else is just a different format with the same story. So you build the stories first. Everything else comes from the stories. And I'm just going to stop here because this is outside of my notes. This is going to be the most painful part of this exercise. But once you do it, you'll be amazed how you will suddenly, it'll be like a floodgate open because you'll say, oh, I don't really remember this. I don't really remember this. But once you remember one, the floodgates will come. And I'm going to tell you what's going to keep you from going crazy, a dictation tool, because I had to have it. I could not type fast enough. I couldn't write fast enough to get it all out, but I could talk my ass off, as many of you have learned. So I got a dictation tool that will dictate into anything. I just started talking. Don't worry about sentence structure. Don't worry about ums or ahs. Just talk. AI will take care of cleaning that all up for you, but get it out. So, hold on. This is
Did you
hard to
share
do.
that dictation tool when you get a chance?
Oh, I love my dictation tool. Yes, I absolutely will. All right. So,
We've each got different ones we've each got different ones we like, so yeah, we'll give you we'll give you like 4 sides of the same one coin,
Yep.
and find out
But
which one resonates with you. Yeah.
but the end of it, the end result is the exact same. So you've got your story versus your resume. So this isn't a real resume bullet. This is a real resume bullet that I wrote, one that I actually used. Improve software quality and delivery predictability through development standards and quality controls. It sounds fine, sounds impressive. It's gotten me interviews. It hits keywords and the ATS loves it. Watch what it doesn't tell anybody. Development teams were calling work done before testing was complete, before code reviews were done, before QA had any confidence in what was being released. I redefined the team's definition of done, non-negotiable, unit testing complete, code reviews complete, quality evidence documented, release standards enforced, trust between development and QA improved, delivery became predictable, and teams finally had a shared understanding of what done actually meant. Now, which version gives AI the more useful information?
Yeah, this is interactive. So if you've got a thought, jump in.
Yep. So here's the thing. That bullet, as good as it sounds, it tells almost nothing. The story tells AI quality leadership, process improvement, stakeholder management, risk mitigation, governance, organizational change, software delivery, 7 competencies from one story. That's why the resume is the output, not the source. That's why you build the stories first. Make sense before I go on? Okay, so
It
let's go
does.
there.
One thing
So-
I'll jump in here and share, Chris, if you don't mind, I'll make it a 5-second interjection. And you're going to see this when I get to sort of the how part. When you're putting your resume together, and this is something that has changed recently, so please keep this in mind. When you're putting your resume together and you're putting those bullets together and you're refining those, don't be afraid to put your voice in that bullet. And by voice, I mean your essence, all right? It doesn't have to be cold and sterile and numeric based. It can tell a story that builds as you go through the resume. It's your through line. Do not be afraid to let your personality show, because what Crystal was saying a few minutes ago when we started, there are so many people using AI and they're using it all the same way. And I'm getting that talk again. Whoever that is, mute please. Or unless it's voices in my head. We're all using these tools the same way. And as a result, we are all spitting out the same resume and people are being lost. Yeah.
Well,
Keep
and
that in
that's
mind.
the whole, and that's what makes this star bank your differentiator. Because AI will fill in the blanks based on what it knows and what little information you provide. It will make some assumptions, and people call that hallucinations, but they're hallucinations based on its teaching model and the information you provided. So it's not wrong, it's just wrong about you. It also sounds like everybody else because everybody else is using the same hallucinated information, because we all look in like, oh, that sounds great. Problem is, because you haven't fed it any context about you, it's going to fill in the blanks. These story banks are what's going to differentiate you and your AI generated resume from someone else's. And I'm going to tell you guys a story that wasn't in the slide deck. something that happened yesterday, but I'll wait till we get to the end. So,
I have a question.
so yes.
Yes, so in that case, because of the hallucination and because, as Kale said, let your bullets show you your experience, well, not your experience, but your personality. Would it be advantageous in the beginning of using AI to have AI learn about us? You know how in the
But
settings there's that
that's the
section.
you can do that, and you can only put so much, because those windows, like Claude has a window where you can, in the settings where you can tell it about you. So does
Mm-hmm.
ChatGPT. You won't be able to put enough context in there so it knows enough about you to be able to help you generate a resume, because it still doesn't have
Oh,
those context windows
Okay.
are not big enough to put what I'm talking about and proposing here are not big enough to
okay.
put that in there.
Okay.
So you're going to hear me talk about your voice profile as well. A little spoiler.
Yes.
It marries up with her Star Story database. So, yes,
You
but you've
have to
got to
have
do
both.
it in such a way to, yeah, to get around the tool. Yeah.
You
Okay.
got to have both.
Yeah.
So I know what you're talking about. That setting, Claude has it, ChatGPT has it, Gemini has it, where you tell it about you. Not enough context in there to give it your whole entire career history and the devils and the details that I'm suggesting. This has to live someplace else. So here's what people don't realize, and I'm speaking from my own experience. When you give AI a rich star story, it doesn't just see the story, it sees everything the story reveals about you. So take the story I just told you from that one story about refining and definition of done and restoring quality discipline. From that, AI can, identify these other traits about me: quality leadership, process improvement. Does this start to ring true? Because these are keywords that you see in job descriptions, and it's able to extract those kinds of matching to what I wrote in that one star story. So it's 7 competencies in one story I told. So imagine if you had 20 stories or 30 stories. AI doesn't just write your resume, it understands you, your professional you. It knows what kind of problems you solve, it knows what you're actually good at, and it can start positioning you for that consistently across every document it's going to help you create. And this is going to be the difference between feeding it a resume and feeding it a story bank. So let me go to my next
And
slide.
And
So,
keep in mind too, what you're hearing Crystal say, keep in mind she's used the word story bank, many times talking about, where those elements of your story are stored. And I talked about the through line. So what you should be picking up on is you're building that tool. It's going to take a little time for you to get it filled up with what you need it to have, but once it's filled up, it's solid, and you're just keeping it updated as stuff comes in. Don't let it get ahead of you. What's happening is once you do that one time, uh, that through line I was talking about will write itself. That
yep.
that story, that the journey that you went on to get you to here today, that's going to separate you from another candidate. That journey story is going to write itself at some point, but quite literally. She said earlier that it's not magic, and it's not magic, but it is using AI for the way it was intended by doing context and linking things, linking concepts together, automatically. So the effort up front will net positive for you into perpetuity, honestly.
Danny, you had a question before I get into this slide.
Yeah, I had a quick question. I'm sorry, not the sharpest tool in the shed. Um, will it
That's not
remember,
true.
uh, will it remember what you have injected and fed? Like, let's say I have to go do something and then come back at it the next day or something of that sort. Will it remember all of that you've provided?
Some of these are better than others, and then some of what it remembers depends on which tool you use and how you configure that. So, for example, I've been using Claude and ChatGPT and Gemini long enough that they build up their own memory and context about me, so they remember good enough details, like things like, if I ask all of them right now, what's the name of my dog, they can all tell you that Jasper is a 10-year-old black cockapoo, and that my husband is KJ Jones and he works for Hot Rod magazine. It knows that. It knows that pink is my favorite color. All three of these know this about me. So it'll remember things enough because as patterns start to develop with the things that you feed it, it will start to pick those things up. Will it remember absolutely everything? Not everything, but enough. Like if I ask all three of them right now, where's the last place I worked? Yeah, they'll all remember. Where you really start to get that sharpened is when you start building out these things that, in Gemini, they call them gems. In ChatGPT, they call them GPTs. And in Claude, they call them projects. But the LLMs by themselves without that will remember a fair bit. They get sharper when you start to use gems and GPTs and projects because those things are focused on only one thing, one task. You are a career guidance counselor, and this is what your job is. And so when you make those things razor focused, then they focus on just that one thing. If you use the general tools, yes, they'll remember a fair bit about you. So the more you use, the more they remember. So going to build that out, Danny, you need a context package. So when I say context package, what does AI need from you to represent you accurately? It's going to need your career history. And this isn't just job titles and dates, but scope, scale. What were you actually responsible for? Like the whole devil's in the details that you only pull up when you're getting ready to do a job interview. You need to pull this into, a single document. Your story bank, and we just covered that. All your star stories organized. Your skills inventory, your hard skills, your soft skills, your certifications, your tools, the full picture about you. Your target roles, what you're actually going after. AI needs to know where you're headed, not just where you've been. And voice and tone, how you talk, what words you use, what you never say. This is how AI stops sounding like a robot and starts sounding like you. So I'll give you an example of voice and tone for me. There's lots written on the internet about how M dashes are the big AI tell. Here's the news flash, everybody. M dashes are not a big AI tell. AI LLMs, large language models, they all use M dashes. They overuse M dashes, and that's because the materials they were trained on used M dashes because, well, it's been used in a lot of professional writing and in educational writing. M dashes are not new. They preceded AI.
What is the
But
M
AI
dash?
um,
Sorry, I'm getting you sidetracked. I
long,
just had
it's
that
the
one
you are
long
thing.
not
dash.
sidetracking it. See this what so it's a long dash instead of a short dash, it's a long dash. And the problem with M dashes isn't the M dash itself, it's because these large language models were all trained on the same materials, documents that were written using M dashes, and it overlearned how and what's the word, optimized on M
Over-indexed on them.
dashes.
Yeah,
Over indexed on them. And so now it overuses them. So particularly for me, because I've always used M dashes in my writing, my AI has my AI tools all have what I call for voice and tone, my M dash protocols, how I personally use M dashes. So it knows you will only use M dashes this way and no other way. So this way it doesn't over index on M dashes. It only uses it the way that I want to use it. So it sounds like me. It looks like me. So if you see M dashes, no, AI didn't write it. Crystal wrote it. She just uses M dashes when she writes. Did I get
yeah.
AI to help me as a writing partner? Sure, I did. But it's always
Totally.
me, always my writing.
Yeah. And
So
that voice
um,
file, yeah, that voice
yeah,
file right there. Sorry, go ahead. I wanted to make sure before you move away from voice and tone, I'm going to quiz you to see how you handle voice and tone. Do you have a voice file, a voice profile like I do? How do you store and bring your voice and tone uh
I have a
in
whole
these tools?
I have a whole branding document that actually talks about my voice, how I would speak, how I use M dashes, personal things about me, how I communicate, my style. Plus, it's learned a ton about my style just from me talking because everyone wants to be robotic and computer like when they talk to AI. And if you heard some of the conversations, I'm wild when I talk to AI, and it is picked up on my tone. And so it knows me just by learning how I communicate with it. But I actually have a whole document that covers my brand, as it were. that's why it knows that I have an affinity for pink and bling, and everything shiny because I told it this in my branding document.
And
But
we're
yeah,
coaching these folks to have their own, I guess is where I was leading. I was leading
yes.
the witness somewhat, you know.
Yep, yep. And I have to dig it up, but I actually pulled together something that can help you build out a brand document similar to the one that I built out. It's almost like a question and answer wizard, but you answer these things and you fill in these things and you can build out your own sort of branding document. I have to look for it because it's been a while. Rosalind, I think you're the only one I shared that with. Um,
Yeah,
so
I've
she's
got one
believe
I'm
seen it.
going to
so.
share with the group now. I've got one. It's a sub. The one I used to get started way back when was from a Substack article from Ruben Hassid. I'm going to share the link. I think another one you're talking about too, Crystal. You and I've talked about it. So
Oh no,
you'll do
I
your
made
share.
this one up.
She
Oh,
made
there you
this
go.
up and she trained
Oh,
me
well
on it.
then, Crystal Jones,
Yeah.
look at that. So she
I
took,
made
yeah.
this up.
So yeah,
Yeah, I made this up, and mine came from when I couldn't get AI to deliver images without me looking like an angry black man, a black woman in the
Yes.
middle of a
Yes.
room full of white men. And I mean, it
wow,
Yes.
was consistently doing it. And that's when I started to build this document out because I needed to teach AI to stop making me look like either Angela Davis or some
That's
angry
right.
black woman or some variation of this wasn't even me, and always the angry black woman in the middle of a room full of white men. And I was like, oh my God. And so that's how I built out my own branding document, trying to stop that problem. Now fortunately, because it's you learned with me and it knows me, and because I fed it this branding document, I can, like you, Kale, I can I can spit out images like this with me. All I have to do most of the time is give it a reference image and it'll do it. And I mean, if you want to see a good example of that, my profile picture, I had years of people telling me you should have your face in your profile picture. Why do you have a picture of your car? But here's the thing. For 5 years, that car has been a conversation starter. That's why I
Yes,
left
it
her in there.
has.
it's a
That's right.
networking
And
tool.
it literally, hell, I just had a conversation with someone today about my car from my LinkedIn profile. And so I was like, okay, how do I marry the two of them? And I had this picture of me with my car at a car show holding a trophy. And I was like, if I was wearing a fire suit at a racetrack, too bad I don't have a picture of any of those. But I have raced my car. I was like, you know what? I fed that picture to AI and said, change the background, put me at a track with and put me in a black race fire suit with pink
Yep,
stripes. And
yep.
my LinkedIn
Bam.
profile picture, that's from a real picture. The only thing is changed is the background and the outfit I'm wearing, but that is the actual picture that I took. And AI has gotten so good at fitting me into these scenes. And as a bonus, if you were able to open up that picture wide enough, the Christmas tree, that's the starting tree, the lights at a racetrack, it
Uh-huh.
says Atco Raceway. Now that is something AI picked up from getting to know me, getting to know my husband, getting to know that we drag race. And
That's in
it
New
knew that,
Jersey.
yes, and that was one of my husband's home racetracks. His was Raceway Park and Atco. And it picked up and put Atco Raceway because I sure as hell didn't ask it to do that.
Nice. Very nice.
So,
See?
Danny, to
Yeah.
ask your question, how well does AI know me? Apparently, pretty damn well because it stuck me. And when my husband looked at the picture, he goes, that really is Atco Raceway in the background.
Funny.
So,
I have another
so
question before you guys
sure.
move forward, and it's from your slide. So as I look at this particular hub and spoke, so to speak, would it be safe for us for career history, skills inventory, et cetera, to have separate either Google Doc or some type of separate Word doc? Because I imagine those would be the attachments that we would upload into our LLM of choice.
Yes and no, because I'm going to share you something that's also not in the slides and something I just recently learned. So I have my story bank actually has a little bit of all of this. My target roles and goals and priorities, that's actually a separate document. But my story bank actually includes a little bit of, hang on, I have to move this window. Can't move it. No, 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 don't do that. Don't do that. Sorry. Okay, there we go. Sorry, my windows are going crazy over here. Okay, I'm trying to move some things and it won't let me. Come on. Sorry, just give me a. I hate it when my technology doesn't cooperate with me.
Right.
Sorry. It just will not let me move this. Okay, there we go. So my no, don't do that either.
We don't
Okay.
see it yet.
No. I'm not sharing anything. I was just looking for
Okay.
something. I needed to move something out the way because I can barely see some of the screen and I needed to see something. So my skills inventory, my career history, and my story bank, they're all living in one document.
Oh, okay.
My target roles, and it's a big ass document. I think it's up to 34 pages now.
Okay.
Target roles, goals and priority, that's in one document, and then my tone and voice, that's in a separate document. It doesn't have
Okay.
it, there's no one size fits all. Put it in as many documents as you need.
Okay.
The thing is, when it comes to LLMs, token usage is important, and I discovered that I had been burning tokens like a drunk man, a drunk sailor on leave because I didn't
Uh-huh.
know this. What I was doing was I would load these documents into the chat window. The problem
Yes.
is when you load them into the chat window like that, you burn up tokens like
Yeah.
crazy because
Send
it
in,
has to
send in, receive.
it has to hold all of that in its memory. So think of memory and token usage like RAM in a computer. And so it
Yes.
has to hold all of that in RAM. And by holding that in RAM, it's burning through tokens.
Oh,
And
wow.
so
I
I
didn't
was
know that.
burning through, yeah, and I didn't know that until I finally ran out of tokens and found this out. And then had to figure out why and figure out a fix because I had a system that was working. Almost all of these LLMs, Claude does, ChatGPT does, and so does Gemini, of course. They
Uh-huh.
all have MCP connectors. MCP connectors allows you to connect to some other system out there and pull that information in. I now connect to all these documents via the Google Drive MCP connection. That saves me
Gotcha.
tokens and still gives my LLM access to all of this information about me.
Perfect. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. And
So
it will pull that
yes,
info in as it needs it. It's smart enough to know to pull it in drips and drabs instead
yep.
of
Versus
guzzling the whole
trying to
thing.
pull the whole thing in. And
Yeah.
what happened for me, because my story bank had gotten so big, it could only
Yes.
read half of the document. It couldn't
Right.
pull in
Yes.
anything more because there was no more room in the context window within the LLM.
And that's what happened to
So,
me. Okay. Gotcha.
Hmm.
yep. So, okay, there we go. I had to get to so goals and priorities, and this is what matters to you in your what also matters to you in your search. This is where you talk about your industry, what level, the environment, and your non-negotiables. And I mean real non-negotiables. Not that, I want a man who's gonna that kind of stuff. No, this is the
Yeah.
real deal. Like if you were being real with your girlfriends, like women talk about the kind of man they're looking for, and yet we give surface level stuff, but then when we talk to our girlfriends, we give the real deal of what we're really looking for. This is the same thing. Tell the whole story, the whole unvarnished story. Danny's laughing because this really happens. The whole unvarnished story, except this is related to your job search. So you tell it whether you want remote or hybrid only. What minimum compensation. If you're considering contract work versus salaried work, you give it both of your ceilings because they're not going to be the same. And by the way, if you're considering contract work and you are taking your annual rate and you are coming up with your hourly rate, you have got an hourly rate that undersells you as a contractor. Your contractor rate needs to be higher than your regular rate. Because
Yeah.
you're going to need to cover some things that are not going to be covered for you as a contractor.
Your own
And the
taxes and all
most,
that kind of thing. Yeah.
well, not even taxes. I'm always a W-2 contractor, but the most important one for me is you have to self-fund your own PTO. And you have
That's
not
true.
lived until
Yeah.
you've gone a week without regular pay. And it may sound like, oh, it's only 5 days. Wait till you live that experience. And I'm saying this from firsthand
Mhm.
experience. I went on a cruise, thought, oh, it's only 1 week of pay. And it took me 4 weeks to recover. And I was like, never again.
Right.
Never again.
Good
So you
call.
do have to account for those kinds of stuff. So your non-negotiables, your minimum compensation, whether or not you're willing to travel, if you're willing to travel, how much travel, specific industries you won't touch, company size, culture, the things that you don't tell if you don't tell AI, it will happily help you apply for jobs you'd never actually take. So everything AI needs to represent you accurately. This is not a resume. This is the source material that makes every resume, every cover letter, every LinkedIn update better. And because they all come from the same well. And we're getting to the good stuff because I know you guys are like, wrap this crap up. So you've got one foundation with infinite applications. This is your ROI slide. This is why the upstream work is well worth it. You build your context package once, then every single thing in your job search, your resume, all that, all will work out and it draws from the same. And here's the thing about the token efficiency argument. And I just said this, I learned this the hard way. Don't paste this in its entirety into any LLM window. Just don't. And if you're building custom GPTs and custom projects in Claude or gems in Gemini, do not use these documents as your knowledge source. It will eventually stop being able to read them, particularly your story bank. It will stop being able to read them because it can only read so far. You'll use your token limit really fast. And I did this for months without knowing. MCP connectors, and that means model context protocol, that fixed that. That lets AI pull your context directly from where it lives instead of requiring you to paste in every single line. It's less friction, fewer tokens, and more consistent results. So you build it once and you reuse it everywhere. Yep. So I'm going to wrap up here. So let's be honest for a second. Even with a perfect context package and a great prompt and an MCP connector and everything set up correctly, there are just things AI isn't going to do for you. AI cannot network for you. It cannot build the relationship with the hiring manager's former colleagues who mentioned an opening. It cannot sit across from a panel and make them like you. It cannot know your value. That part is on you. And it can absolutely not replace the judgment that comes from 20 years of doing the actual work. AI is a tool. It's a really powerful one. And you're going to use it to eliminate drudgery, the formatting, the tailoring, the drafting. So you have energy left for the part that only you can do. So the tool is going to amplify your signal, but only you are going to provide that signal. The robot didn't get you the job. You're going to get it. So with that, I'm going to pass this off. 3 things one more time. We'll go back to that first slide. Your resume is not the output. Your resume is only the output. It's not the source. The context isn't the bonus. Context is the whole game. You build your stories first and everything else comes from those stories. So I've given you the why. Why context matters, why your stories, your source material, why AI needs more than a resume to help you. So we're going to talk about how you actually operationalize that. So that's what Kale's going to talk about. And he's built something that takes everything I just described and puts it into practice. And I'm going to let him show you. And that is the end of my presentation.
Wait a minute, please, Crystal,
Yes,
just
ma'am.
before Kale begins.
Yeah, go ahead.
Janice asked if you could show, I think, what is it, Janice, slide number 12?
Yeah.
She put that in the chat.
This one?
Oh, did I steal the ball?
Yeah, you kind of did.
Oh, let me unsteal. There we go. Sorry about that.
Oh, that's okay. You know what? Let me do this. You go ahead, Kale. Janice, I'm gonna put that. I'll copy and paste that and drop it into drop a screenshot of it into the chat.
Okay, thanks.
Because I've talked long enough.
And I'm going to embiggen this Word doc, and I'll share this out rather than walking through it inside the Gemini gem format, inside their look and feel. I copied and pasted this out into a Word doc, and again, I'll share it in the chat when we're done. I'm going to basically just I'm going to keep this really short, 5-10 minutes, including questions. And then we can pick up on what Crystal shared and what I'm sharing with you in terms of how you can actually do this, right, in the resume context. We are happy to continue these elements of this conversation in future weeks, adding other things and adding some of the tips about token management, things like that we were talking about. But what I want to do here with this gem, so if you've used Gemini, that's great. And you've probably, like most of us, you've used Gemini as a chat, right? You've used it where you tell it things and you get an answer. So the gems are really nothing more than a chat that has been stored off that you can give additional instructions to, and you can basically ask it to prompt you for inputs. It's just a canned chat, really, with the ability, like Crystal was talking earlier, with the ability to attach reference documents to it that are always in the context. Anytime you bring up that gem to use it, you'll have that information available, right? So it's just a really good packaging way to use Gemini faster than you normally would in a more effective way. It's not really complicated. It looks sort of scary, but it's just a way to be more efficient. Uh, so this Word doc is a gem that I've got that's, I'm going to say 90% generic. You should be able to copy and paste this from the Word doc into your own Gemini or gems or that kind of thing and use it forever, right? Update it as you want, but it should go pretty smooth once you copy it in. So what we're doing here at the beginning is I'm just giving it a thing where I'm just basically reminding it what its role is. And I'm telling it it's an expert on ATS optimization rather. And I tell it the context, Workday, Greenhouse, Lever, Taleo, and so forth. And I ask it to give you the request to put in, sorry. Yeah, I ask it to give you the request to provide it information to do its job well. So it's going to ask you for that voice profile that Crystal was talking about. It's going to ask you to put in your LinkedIn profile and, of course, your resume. And then lastly, the job description. The reason we do all four of these, the reason I do all four of these is because, of course, you've got your resume, which is that story. That's the story you built about how you got here, and it's, who you are and what you've done professionally, like Crystal was talking about. The job description is obviously what you're wanting to tailor your resume against. That voice profile is, again, like I was saying, that voice profile is how you as the individual are going to be heard, and it's not going to be sanitized to death, and it's not going to sound like Crystal or KL or Danny. It's going to sound like you, right? That's the goal. And you put all four of those pieces of information in, right? And you can even, here's the fun thing about gems, you can even store those in the gem and they will always be there. Pretty much like the only thing that's going to change very often is that job description. So you could store the resume, because you're going to have a baseline resume, right? You could store your baseline resume, your profile, and your LinkedIn profile, store those in the gem always. And now all you have to do is just give it the latest job description that you're running against. And again, you've saved yourself a lot of labor from that point forward. Okay. I've got the gem being kind of snotty where it says, hey, don't proceed without all four. And if you try to get by without one of them, it will prompt you and ask you for it, especially that voice profile, because it's really imperative. When I wrote this, it's imperative that you come out of the back end. All right. I'm not going to drain the pond on all of the stuff inside, but what you'll notice is I just refreshed this last night before I brought it here for you folks today. I want it to know across the board, not what we hear about what the ATS will do to us, but what the ATS actually looks for, so that when it's helping you write your tailored resume, it's running through these criteria that it knows from research the ATS is looking for, or ATSs are looking for. Okay. This is one of those ones where I would argue that you would come into the absolute ban section. You may not necessarily want to ban the same things I did, but the ones that I put in here are the ones I generally read and hear people say these get overused in resumes, so try to avoid them. Crystal was talking about her best friend, the M dash. The M dash irritates the heck out of me. I'm kind of on the other side of the camp there, Crystal. So I tell it use the N dash, which is the short one. And a little side note, by the way, so that I don't look like AI in my voice profile, I've got it where I say replace the M dashes with 2 N dashes in a row. So if I really do want the thing where it has that interrupting quality, but it's not an M dash with an M, I just cheat and have it put in 2 shorter dashes. I get the same punch without running the risk of looking like an AI, you know. So, and you'll
And
notice,
just
yeah,
to
go ahead.
add to that, my
Yeah.
my M dash protocol is to be less aggressive with the M dash, and so I've given it specific rules on when to use it, so it
Yeah.
stops using it everywhere like it has been, sort of indiscriminatory. And the biggest part of that rule is any place a comma will work, that's where you'll use a comma. Do not use an M dash, because that's usually where M dashes show up, where it looks weird, and that's where AI does it. It'll replace commas with M dashes regularly. And I'm like, no, I
And
don't
teach the
talk, I don't
darn,
need to type like that.
yeah, teach the darn thing how to use semicolons too. That's a thing that goes way back. You know, semicolons also have their place, you know, instead. Now, those who are more astute will notice that I'm talking a good game about the M dash, but because I did ask the AI to help me format this, you're still going to see M dashes because when I cleaned this up earlier, I did not have my profile laid against it, so it did not account for my ban. So that's why I talk about the ban when I'm using it in my context, but when I'm having it just sort of do this cleanup, I didn't think to put my profile in there. So now, or my voice. So now the M dashes came back, and that's okay because this is just a script that we're running as a prompt. So we really don't care. No one's going to yell at us for it. But if you saw that, that's why. All right. And so then the last thing I'm going to say before we turn it over for questions is, please go through this, look at this, understand it, and then just use it. Right. And the reason I say look at it and understand it is not because I don't have faith in it. I use this exact one myself every day. But it really, and like Crystal was saying to us earlier, it really does serve you better if you know the tool you're using. So you'll know if it spits out garbage, you'll know why. You'll know where to look. If it doesn't behave the way you expect it to, you'll know how to go find out why. If it's an opaque box, you'll have a harder time being able to get what you need out of it if it breaks, right? All right. So this thing, it will go in and it will tear your resume apart, if you will, and it will do a rewrite, right? It will do a rewrite, the professional summary, the core, it does that whole thing where it goes in and rewrites it according to the ATS, according to your voice. It looks for those flags that we talked about, so forth and so on. All right. And you'll notice one thing, the reason I say bring in your LinkedIn is because one of the things you want to have is consistency between your resume and your LinkedIn. They are not the same thing. You don't want them to mirror one another, but you do want them to be consistent. And so that's why I've got the resume tool here, bringing your LinkedIn profile in, so that you at least have one shot of them being somewhat analogous, okay, and lining up. So let me stop there. I will share this with everybody in the chat, if you will, and I think I can post it in our LinkedIn group as well. So you'll have a chance to get your hands on this and use it. And please give me feedback, questions, hate mail, whatever you want to do. I've got time for a couple of questions before we end. Anybody?
I just wanted to say one thing really quick, because you talked, can you scroll back up earlier in your
Yeah, tell me where to stop at.
we talked about your voice, your where was it? We talked about writing samples, where I saw it in here.
Oh yeah, so like if for example the user, they can't give you a profile, ask them to provide some samples. Yeah.
Yes, and so what I was going to say there is this. So for my marketing document that has my writing samples, here's where you got to be really creative. It is not just your professional writing. If you really want AI to learn your voice, I don't know about you guys, but not all of you guys, in fact, none of you guys are friends with me on Facebook. The way I talk on Facebook is not the same the way that I talk, and Instagram is not the way I talked on LinkedIn. Not that there's anything bad. It's just, it's a different audience. It's a different reason for being there. And so I wanted you want you want these models to learn your writing style, you need to give it all your writing style, not just your professional writing. Yes, you want it to write professional letters, but if it doesn't understand how you write, because how you talk, how you write, how you speak, even when you're in informal settings, it creeps into your professional writing. So if you want it to really get to know you, how you think, how you talk, how you use language, show it how you use language, like all of how you use language. So that's why Claude knows me so well that when I gave it an idea about something I wanted to do to add to my, I call my gym, my Claude project, the Career Command Center. I had given it an idea of something I wanted to do to expand it. And Claude's first response back to me was, holy shit, that's awesome. Let's do this. Because Claude has been working with me long enough that
Right.
he knew that would
Now,
resonate.
also the one
with me.
thing there is don't let the AI lie to you. Don't let the AI convince you something you know is not true. If you ever
Yep.
have a situation where you are doing your resume and the AI puts in a fact about you that is not true, two things you need to do. One is have it pull it out, expressly tell it to never do that again. Okay, and it won't. You have to tell it, don't do that again. And don't let it shape your truth. You remember, you know what you did or didn't do. Make sure the AI follows your rules, not the other way around.
Yep. Give it everything about you. So if you've got letters, personal letters you've written, I don't mean with personal information, but things that show your informal and your formal writing styles. Give it a variety of things so it can see how you think. So I fed it articles I've written. I fed it articles I was interviewed for. I fed it Facebook posts, some of my funnier ones. I fed it everything about me, so it got a real good sense of my writing style. You should be doing all of those things so that it knows who you are when it's drafting, because it's drafting letters, it's drafting resumes, it's drafting things on your behalf. It needs to know how you write so it sounds like you.
And the last thing I'll do, I'm going to respect everybody's time, Crystal. I'm going to steal the last word on that, which is, and because of that, you're letting this machine put out a product that's got your name on it. You want to very well know what that product is, and you want to be the last check, the last QA to make sure that something that's either embarrassing or wrong or clumsy or just muddled. You don't want that resume to go to a hiring manager unless you're confident that it's the best work. So, yeah.
Dale,
Yes.
thank you very much for presenting this to us. The question that I have, I see it is a 4-page document. So would we want to upload that along with the resume, the job description, and the voice, or should we copy and paste?
Well, this particular, huh?
I'm going to say no, just because of what I just learned. Put it in a Google Drive. Ask your LLM to go find these documents in Google Drive. You paste these into your context windows, you're going to burn tokens like that.
Well, I
That's
think
the
her
big
question
lesson
was
I learned.
slightly, yeah. So let me, you're right. I think maybe what Roz, let me correct me if I'm wrong, Roz. I think what you were asking was because I'm showing you a prompt that's not living in its native tool set inside a Google Gem. You were asking about, how does it get into the
Gem.
flow?
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah. So in this particular case, yes, you would copy and paste this into the Gemini Gem window and do a save. And then now that's that saved prompt that you can then use like the way we described. Now, I'm going to talk, Crystal, I want to talk with you offline because I want to do some science on this one. In order to keep things simple, stupid, I will put those documents that I attach, I'll put those not in that context window inside that little tiny window, but in the gem where you can attach things to the knowledge base, it'll call it. I warrant, and I'd have to check the back end. I think that is pretty much analogous to using the drive versus trying to copy it into the context all the time. I think it would give us the same efficiency, but it would make it simpler for them. And I stand to be corrected on that.
The reason why I don't use the knowledge base anymore is because one of my knowledge documents got so large that Google could no longer read it from the knowledge base. But through the MCP connector going directly to Google Drive, it had no problem reading the full document. But going into the knowledge base, it will pull in as much as it can into its context window, and then it stops. And so if a document becomes long enough, your knowledge document becomes too long, it stops reading it. It'll stop reading it at a certain point. So what I have done now is simpler documents in the knowledge base, much simpler documents in the knowledge base. Anything that has any heft to it, that stays in the drive. So my story bank, even my resume now. And then the other benefit of doing it that way is it can always pull the most recent version. If you put your resume and your knowledge documents into the knowledge base for either whether you're using a Claude project, Gemini Gem, or Chat GPT, Custom GPT, every time you update it, you got to go and update that GPT, that project, that gem. Pulling that knowledge document via an MCP connection saves tokens, and it always gets the freshest version of that document.
There you go. You heard it straight from the pro who's done the science. So there you go. All
and
right.
Spent a lot of money doing it.
Right. So I'm going to go ahead and put the Word doc. I'm going to try if it will let me attach it. Boy, Teams is just a little on the cantankerous side
You
when it
might
comes
need
to
an
attaching things.
MCP.
Don't even.
And then
All right. I
can
actually have to run, guys. I'm going to join. I've got a call. I'm joining with a guy trying to help him improve his LinkedIn presence, trying to start up a consultancy. And
Bless
so I'm
you.
going to go talk with him and act like I know what I'm talking about.
So I want to add just one last bonus. I know Kale, you're trying to leave, but I saw Hussein is in here. So I did want to say this because this is a bonus that I discovered. So it doesn't work with Gemini, unfortunately, because Google doesn't support MCP connections except for Google Drive or Google products. But ChatGPT and Claude both support MCP connections to remember Gig HQ.
Yeah.
Remember Gig HQ? Well, if you pair if you use that prompt that Kale gave you in ChatGPT or in Claude, and you pair that and you have an account with Gig HQ, you can use their MCP connector and their job tracker, and you can do something really, really super cool and powerful, which I am happy to show anybody one-on-one if they want to see how that works, because I don't want to take up anyone's time. But I'm telling you, it's a freaking game changer because his MCP connector is super awesome. It has streamlined the hell out of my AI processes. I can tell Claude to go pull something out of the tracker, and using my instruction for vetting jobs, it can vet the job, pulling that job description straight from Gig HQ. It can help me craft a resume. It can update the status of things in my tracker. It can add notes to it. It can do all kinds of stuff, but his MCP connector it's a game changer. If you're using Claude and if you're using ChatGPT, and it has to be the paid version. Unfortunately, you can't do this with the free version. But if you're willing to pay for the low-level free paid version for either ChatGPT or Claude, you can do some cool stuff, guys. Some really cool stuff.
So I'm sorry for the blast in your window there, but I could not get the doc to attach. So you could just do a quick select
good.
all.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Yeah.
There's the.
So this
there's
would
the
go
magic.
in your this would go in your Gemini instructions.
Mhm.
So this goes in your Gemini instructions. Everything else goes in either your knowledge base or in a Google Drive, and you're going to instruct your gem to go grab those documents from the knowledge base. Now you're going to have to be explicit, tell it where to find it, what your resume is called. But once you tell it where to find it, and the easiest way to do it, give it a folder name, put everything in one folder and say, hey, go here and get your information.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
And I remember you said that it pulls the most recent.
Mm-hmm. That's the side
cut you
bonus
off.
because. Yep. All right, guys.
I was going to do another pitch for Hasnain just to make sure, he's sitting there silently smiling because we're helping point people to a very nice tool that this man it's been a passion project and I've worked with Hossein now for about a year and a half, off and on that lovely thing. It's definitely a passion project of his to help himself and folks out. So definitely go look at it and do that magic that Crystal was talking about, putting two together, and it will blow your mind. All right.
So
Thank you
Kate and I
for
gotta
letting us
figure out
ramble
what we're
on for a
gonna
little
ask
bit.
you with for next week.
Yeah. Yeah. Hit us up. We'll tell you some more cool stuff.
Okay.
All right.
Next
Thank
week,
you all
let's do
very
a
much.
demo.
Oh, there you go. All right. Thank you all again.
Thank you,
Yeah, I
guys. Thank you,
definitely want
Danny.
to
Thank you,
demo.
guys. This was helpful.
I definitely
Very
want a
much.
demo because the gem and the MCP, I want to see it being done. Like I want to. I've not played around in there, unfortunately. So please teach me.
I think that was probably good. Practical. Yeah, we can do that.
Yeah, we can definitely do that. We'll have to have a
Cool.
powwow, Kale.
Yeah, we'll act like we coordinated ahead of time.
And also, we would like Hussein to be here so we can see how it also integrates
Oh, yeah.
with the
There you
Gig
go.
HQ.
All right. So Hossein, yeah, you got a command performance for next week, my friend.
Oh, he said happy to do it. Okay, thank
There you
you.
go. All right.
Excellent.
Folks, I'm late. God bless. Everybody have a good one.
Thank
God
you,
bless. Bye,
everyone.
Kim.
Thank
Bye,
you. Have a
John.
good weekend.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye.
Okay, bye, Crystal. See you.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Danny. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Or do you want to talk to me today?
Real quick, and yeah, this is